Greetings and salutations. Thank you for clicking. I just happened to look up and notice that we're almost at 25,000 subscribers. Now here on the YouTube page it's telling me one number, and in the dashboard it's telling me another. The last time I looked it was 24,990 subscribers, so we're getting very close to 25,000, and it will probably be over that number once you watch this video. That is an astounding number of people to me, and I am very appreciative to everyone who has clicked the subscribe button for this channel, because I've been doing YouTube for quite some time now, and ever since I started doing videos about Linux, it has opened up a whole new world. I have talked to people all around the world. I have found out that we have much more about us that's alike than different, especially when we have a middle ground to talk about. And in this case, it is the GNU/Linux operating system, which is completely and totally awesome. So what I want to do in this video is talk a little bit about what this is, what the channel's about, and what Easy Linux is about. We have a lot of new subscribers that have just come along, so I'm going to run through some of the resources that are available to you. If you've just subscribed to the channel, there's way more to this than just the occasional YouTube video about Linux. First of all, if you come to the channel and take a look here, you're going to notice that there are some playlists up here. We've got Linux tips and Linux talks and tutorials, and then we have Linux tips, and these are two big playlists, and in those playlists are a whole bunch of videos about Linux. So there's a lot of distro reviews and talk about different Linux concepts under the talks and tutorials, plus the occasional podcasts I do with Jeremy O'Connell at CyberWeb Solutions, who has become a partner with the Easy Linux project. So once in a great while we do a video together, and we get into some real in-depth stuff in those videos, and they can run quite long. And then there are the Linux tips, and they are just ways to use different features of the operating system and talk about different software and things like that as well. And you will occasionally on this channel see a video that is not about Linux, like the most recent one I posted here is about the Pioneer PL990 turntable. And if you're scratching your head wondering what that's all about, that's because when I started this channel years ago, it was about audio equipment. I talked mainly about things like cassette decks and turntables and anything analog audio, some digital audio stuff too, because the bulk of my training is in radio broadcasting. I started out training as a radio engineer way back in the dark ages in the 80s, and as my radio career progressed, I started to become more and more involved with computers, and the last 10 years that I was in the business, I was managing, administering, and programming automation systems for radio and television stations. So that really lit the fire in me about a love of computers. Through the years, I offered freelance computer help to people. I worked on mainly Windows systems. For a very short time, I took a break from radio. I went to work for Gateway Computer, and I was a senior tech support professional there and helped people with their gateway systems. Didn't do that for very long, but it certainly gave me a lot of good training that I have put to use here on the YouTube channel. So anyway, that is why you see those occasional videos that have to do with radio or have to do with something that has to do with audio, because there are still folks who are fans of the channel now who remember those videos. So I'll put one up occasionally about that as well. Anyway, back to these playlists, these Linux tips and Linux talks. These have a lot of videos in them. I don't expect you to sit down and watch the playlist one after the other. What you can do is just open the playlist and then scroll through, and then if you see a video that strikes your fancy, something you want to learn about, or something you want to hear me talk about, you can click on it and watch it. You don't have to watch the whole thing. You can also search the channel here. So for instance, if you come up here and you click on this little magnifying glass when you're on the channel page, and then you type in Samba, let's say, it will take you to all the videos that I've posted that mention something about Samba or have something to do with it. In this case, probably the only video I have up is the one about configuring Samba. I don't use Samba myself anymore, but some people do. I'm just using it as an example. So poke around the YouTube channel. A lot of people who use YouTube don't necessarily know how all of this stuff works. Another place that you can become part of the community is on Facebook at the Easy Linux page on Facebook. Now this one is called Easy Linux. The YouTube channel is my name, Joe Collins, and that's because it's a really old channel, and with old grandfather YouTube channels you can't easily change the name, so I've just left it as Joe Collins. Besides, it's not 100% Linux. Every now and again I post something else that's personal there. Not very often though, but I do. I have considered starting another YouTube channel, dedicating it specifically to Easy Linux, but that would involve having everybody who's currently subscribed here to move over there, and that would be kind of a mess. So anyway, that's the way this is. But over here, you will see every video that I post, every article that I write. I contribute on a semi-regular basis to freedompenguin.com, which is a website that's about Linux. So you may want to go check out Freedom Penguin. There's lots of folks who contribute there. And Freedom Penguin is for everyday Linux users. Anyway, back here on the Easy Linux page on Facebook, this is an interactive page. You can comment on things that I post about, and you can add your feedback here. And so therefore, if you are a Facebook user, I would strongly encourage you to come like the page or at least follow it, one of the two. I know that some people out there don't like Facebook. That's fine. You don't have to come to Facebook. But it is an excellent place for folks who are not necessarily computer novices to discover Linux. And because, pretty much everybody uses Facebook, even if they're not computer gurus. People use it on their phone and things like that. So let's get into the heart of the entire thing here, and that is the easylinux.com page. Let me full screen that. We're going to go through this a little bit. This is the anchor for the Easy Linux project. I launched the Easy Linux project in 2014, and I did that after I got such a wonderful response to some of the YouTube videos I was posting. I wanted to do more than YouTube videos. I wanted to actually help people get started with Linux one-on-one. And what Easy Linux is a service that I provide where I will work with people one-on-one who want to get Linux installed on their computer. I will walk them through an install, which is better than me installing Linux on their computer and handing it to them, because then they become part of the process. They know what went into the installation, and therefore they become better users right off the bat, and they start out with a certain level of confidence that they wouldn't have if I just handed them the machine. I also offer some support after that, about 6 months worth after I install it, that if that person has any reason to contact me, they have an issue or a problem, then I will do everything I can to try and get it fixed for them. And I do accept a fee for that. It's more of a gratuity. I'm not a business. This is just something that I do for folks, and if you want to contribute to the cause, you're more than welcome to. Usually I ask for about $50 US. If you want to give me more, go right ahead. Some people have been incredibly generous when it comes to this, so thank you very much. But here you can read a little bit about Linux and how it applies to the home or the small business desktop user. And we have a news page, but there's really not much here. I don't keep up with it. I have to tell you the truth. As a matter of fact, this is the only news story that's posted here. I may actually get rid of this at some point because I'm too busy working with Facebook, because that's where really a lot of the action is these days. We have a system requirements page here. It talks about the basic hardware that you need to get Linux going. What I tell people in 2017 is that if you want to get into Linux, the best way to do it is to get a computer that's about 3 to 5 years old. You can buy a used one online on eBay or Craigslist or someplace like that. Try and look for something that has Intel hardware in it, because that tends to be a little bit more Linux friendly than AMD, but I have AMD machines that work just fine. So, but Intel pretty much works out of the box, and then you can install Linux on it. What I tell people not to do is don't go out to the big box store and buy the bargain laptop with Windows 10 on it and then bring it home and try and put Linux on it, because if you do, you may find yourself being very disappointed. Hardware has progressed through the years, and the trend now is to have the hardware be very much tied with the operating system itself. So some of the new Windows 10 machines don't like Linux and won't run it. And also, you don't want to spend the money for a license to run Windows that you're not going to use. That's kind of crazy. Get a used machine, and then it doesn't matter, and you don't have to worry about spending that money, nor giving Microsoft the little tick in their statistics that says there's another machine sold with Windows on it. If you really just want a new piece of hardware, then there are lots of companies these days that sell Linux machines. There is Dell. They sell computers with Linux on them, both desktops and laptops. Same goes for System 76 here in the United States. In Europe, there's a wonderful company that builds machines called Intraware. You might want to check them out. And there's several other independent companies. And those machines usually come to you loaded with Ubuntu. Now, you can easily move over to whatever Linux distribution you like, but that's a great way to get started with Linux, and you have a machine that you know is going to be compatible with Linux right out of the box. Here on the page, I have a kind of an essay about open source and what that is and what it means to me. And Linux is definitely based on open source. Linux is a wonderful amalgam of different technologies. It is a Unix work-alike, which means that when it was designed, it was designed to be very similar to the original Unix operating system that Bell Labs came up with in the late 60s. And Unix has a great philosophy, which is to divide any task up into as many little jobs as possible and then assign a specific application or tool to each one of those jobs and string them together to get it done. And that's how Linux works as well. Linux also borrows very heavily from the GNU operating system, which was developed in the mid-80s. And GNU, or GNU, is an acronym for GNU's Not Unix. And it is another Unix work-alike that was intended to be free and open source. And I don't mean free as in free beer. I mean free as in free for you to change and do whatever you want with, because that's the beauty of Linux. It's not like Windows or Mac that give you a certain experience and say, okay, this is what you got, and if you can't change it, or if you do change it, we're going to, we'll null your warranty, and if you redistribute it, we're going to put you in jail. They don't do that with Linux. Linux and GNU and all of those wonderful tools, they are free to distribute and free to modify. Now, for somebody who's just surfing the web and doing email and things like that, it might not be apparent why that is an advantage, but I encourage you to come to the page and read this, and maybe you'll have a little bit of a better understanding. Not too long ago, I decided that I was going to focus on Linux Mint for new users who come to Easy Linux, and that's by popular demand. Probably for the last year and a half, most people who have come to me asking for one-on-one help, they have wanted to get started with Linux Mint. This does not mean that I won't help people get started with other distributions of Linux, specifically Ubuntu and all of its flavors, but Linux Mint is definitely the one that people ask for. And then we have About Us, and we have a Contact Us page here. And the Contact Us page will get an email directly to me in my own email server. So if you have a serious inquiry about me working with you, here's where you can send me that information. And we have feedback here, and there's Get Me on Linux, and then there's technical support. These categories are available for you to choose from. The technical support category is mainly for folks who I'm actively supporting through Easy Linux. However, you can send me a question there, and I will attempt to answer it. I usually try and just, the more intense support is going to be for systems that I have set up, because I know what's in them. But I will definitely try and point you in the right direction if I can. Some people send me questions that I simply cannot answer. It happens occasionally. I just don't have the information. But a lot of times what I do is send them in a direction that will help them. And then finally here on the Easy Linux page we have Wallpapers. The Wallpapers page came from popular demand. People were watching my videos and they saw some of the wallpapers I used and they inquired about them. And so I have posted them here. And if you would like to get a copy for yourself, all you got to do is click on one of these and it will open up in a tab in your browser or open up full page, and then you can right click on it, and then all you have to do is save the image to your hard drive. Some of these are pictures that I have taken myself, and others are ones that I have found on the internet. And the ones that I have found on the internet, I believe, are available for free distribution. So if anybody sees one of these that is not, or they want me to remove it, I will. It's not a big deal. It's just that these are the ones that people ask about. So if you see a wallpaper in my video, you can check that out. Now, if I use a wallpaper in a video that's part of the distribution, then it will be in that distribution, and I'm not going to distribute those because you'll have to get the distribution to do that. So that's how that works. So that's a quick tour of what's going on here. In the links in the descriptions for pretty much all of my Linux videos, you're going to find links to easylinux.com and also the Facebook page and freedompenguin.com, where you can read more about Linux. And that is pretty much how this whole system works. It has been an unbelievable journey. I've met a lot of great people. And one of the things that I wanted to address at the end of this video, for those of you who are new to the community, is the trolls out there and the flamers, because it's worth saying a couple of words about. Unfortunately, there's an element in the Linux community that is quite nasty and very opinionated, and can be quite nasty to new users as well. Those folks don't get a lot of attention from me. I used to argue with them, especially if they showed up on a video and wanted to, in the comments to a video, and took some sort of offense to something that I said or whatever the deal was. I used to try and argue with them. I don't anymore. I just simply ignore them. And anybody who posts anything that's particularly nasty is just going to get deleted regardless of where you are, if I'm in control of that. So on Facebook, YouTube, wherever, if you send me something nasty, I'm just going to delete it. I don't need people in the community to see that sort of thing. So keep that in mind before you start typing your wicked pen, get that going. That's just old expression, the wicked pen. I'm dating myself with that one. But anyway, that's how I deal with that sort of thing today. I just don't pay very much attention to it. There are those in the Linux community who see it as an exclusive club. They don't like the idea of having new users. They don't like the idea of having people come to it and using it in ways that they don't use it. Some engineering types, they can be very much afflicted with tunnel vision, and their attitude is, if you don't use this technology exactly the way I use it, then you're wrong. And they have a very hard time seeing the use case of somebody who is not doing what they're doing. So those who use Linux to run servers, or they are developers or something like that, they may have a hard time understanding the wants and the needs of somebody who wants to use it on the average desktop or laptop. And that's just the way it is, folks. It takes every kind of person to make a world. So my general policy to that is just simply to ignore it, to delete it, to make it go away. And that's been a good policy, because the folks that do become part of the community and do contribute are those that have something constructive to say, something positive to add. And I'm not saying that you can't disagree with something that I say in a video. I'm not saying that you can't point out something that I didn't have a chance to talk about. I learn from these comments all the time. People send me all kinds of things. They point out new things. If I come across something that's just dead wrong in a video, a lot of times I just pull the video or the post or wherever it is, because everybody makes mistakes, including myself. But if it's a matter of opinion, in other words, you say don't do it this way because my way is better, you're going to have to prove it. And if you're very diplomatic about it, you may change my mind. But if you're nasty about it, there's no way. I'm not going to pay you any attention. And I have developed my own opinions on Linux. I first started goofing around with it in 1998. So I'm not exactly a newbie. And definitely within the last 5 years, I have really just paid very close attention to Linux and nothing else. So I feel like at this point that I have a pretty good handle on the system and what it can do for me and people like me, and what it can do for the new users that I bring to Linux from Easy Linux. So just wanted to point that out at the end of the video. Thank you very much for your subscriptions, and thank you so much for your time, and thank you for supporting me as I have done these videos through the years. They are long format videos This is a combination of a vlog and a tutorial-based channel. I try and show people things that teach them something. Every now and again I do look at Linux distributions and that sort of thing and do reviews and whatnot, but really what this is about is talking about how you can use this technology in your life every day. And I figure that if there is anything that is worth talking about, it's worth taking the time to go through the details and explain in depth to people who are really interested in learning about it. So that's why these videos do tend to run about 30 minutes, is that I take that time to talk about an individual subject, go back to first principles, and help people who are new to the concept of Unix/GNU/Linux computing understand how this all works. So thank you very much for watching. Usually at the end of the videos I always say check out Easy Linux on the web, check out Easy Linux on Facebook, and check out freedompenguin.com. And so therefore I want to thank you once again for doing just that, and the 25,000 subscriber mark is awesome.